Justice Department's internal watchdog announced this afternoon that they're looking into how the Justice Department and the FBI handled their inquiry into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private email server during the presidential campaign. That investigation, of course, a big political story in the 2016 election. The Justice Department Inspector General says that he will review whether the FBI followed policy in the probe. The Republican chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Congressman Jason Chaffetz of Utah, joins me now. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for joining us as always.
Glad to be here.
So what do you think? What do you think of this move by the Justice Department Inspector General to look into how Justice and the FBI handled these matters involving Hillary Clinton last year?
I wholeheartedly support it. I think Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, is a man of great integrity. I think justice is what we all want to prevail. There are questions on both sides of the aisle about the timing and who they met with and information that was put out. And so it's not just about Director Comey. This review, I think, should also look at the legislative liaison, Mr. Kadzlik, giving advance information. It should look into why did the Attorney General meet with Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, days before this announcement of somebody that was a subject of an investigation. There are a lot of questions, and then the timing of why all this happened. I think everybody really wants to know.
And so obviously you think there are actions and behaviors within the FBI or Justice Department that merit further scrutiny. You just enumerated some. What about some on the Democratic side of the aisle? The announcement by James Comey 10 days before the election of the emails that had been found in Anthony Weiner's computer, et cetera, also worthy of further scrutiny?
Yeah, I do think that's a legitimate question. If I was on the Democratic side of the aisle, I'd be going nuts over that. I think Director Comey had a duty and an obligation. He made a commitment under oath on the Republican side of the aisle. If he didn't give us that disclosure, we would have been, yelling and screaming about that. But then how do you review literally what I've heard, at least in the press, hundreds of thousands of documents in such a short amount of time when it took almost a year to go through a much smaller number? So there are a lot of questions, legitimate questions, and for the sake of justice, air those out. That's what we do as a nation. We are self-critical. We do take a critical look. I don't think it was the factor in swaying the election, but I think it was a factor, and we should look at it.
You obviously held you head the committee, the Government Reform and House Oversight Committee, that tries to offer oversight of the federal government. I'm wondering, there's been so much discussion in the last week about these allegations that the chiefs of the intelligence divisions presented to President Obama, presented to President-elect Trump. There's been so much pushback by the Trump camp about the intelligence officials politicizing this intelligence. Are these matters that you and your committee will review?
I really have to leave that to the Intel Committee. The Intelligence Committee, led by Devin Nunes out of California, Adam Schiff on the Democratic side. When it comes to sources, methods, the CIA, the NSA, those types of things, they really have to be the ones to lead out. You're going to have to look at highly classified information. It's just something that we're not set up to do. We can investigate anything, anywhere, anytime, but there are certain aspects of sources and methods that they are really. So us, no. The Intel Committee, yes.
And lastly, sir, briefly, if you could, yesterday President-elect Trump announced his plan to try to avoid conflicts of interest with his business. As you know, the director of the Office of Government Ethics called the plan wholly inadequate. Is this something that concerns you and that your committee might look into either?
Look, we will always keep a watchful eye, but the commitment from the president has to be to abide by the law. Under Section 208 of the Criminal Code, the president is exempt from most of these conflicts of interest. So I know the Democrats have been flailing about this, that, and the other, but it seems to me that Donald Trump is bending over backwards to do everything he can, but he has to abide by the law, and he's exempt from most of these conflicts of interest. So I thought it was very premature of the Office of Government Ethics to essentially be in the spin room saying, hey, I hate this, when he hasn't even actually looked at it or reviewed it. This is an Obama donor who was very supportive of Hillary Clinton in some of the actions that he took, and I think that the Ethics Office is supposed to be impartial and seems to have a partial bent to it right now. So I'm very concerned about that.
Congressman Chaffetz, thanks so much. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.